I would be in the gym so much, I would kind of be playing 5-on-5 by myself about the game that I'm having later.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like, no shot I'm taking is gonna be new to me because I already practiced it.
Dope.
If I play at 7 p.m. tonight, I'm in here at 7 in the morning before class, then I come back at 3 o'clock. This is game day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And guys are coming in, taping their ankles, late, whatever. Yeah. They're taking their own routine. This is my routine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm just comfortable putting in a lot of work. It was normal to me, you know,
Gotcha.
and it just became normal. So at that time, no shot felt bad.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Keys to Success, where we don't just highlight people's success, but we highlight their journeys and what got them to the position that they are in today. My guest today, literally, he doesn't need an introduction, a pillar to our community in the basketball world, and then also just with the kids, a great mentor. With no further ado, I'd like to, give it off to Lamonte Thomas.
Appreciate you for having me, bro.
No problem, brother.
It's an honor, man, to see people doing great stuff like this, trying to share positive messages. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an honor to have you. I'd like to say that off rip. How I'd like to start it off is positive notes. I would like to ask you, what is 3 things you are most grateful for today?
3 things I'm most grateful for. I would definitely have to say family.
Yes, sir.
The game of basketball. And man, the higher power, God,
yes,
man, for sure. Faith,
yes,
God, for sure.
I like that. Let's get right into it. What were some challenges you faced growing up in Providence, and how did basketball help you get through?
I mean, when I look back on my journey now, some of the struggles I would say for a lot of people in Providence were just the lack of resources. Like we didn't really have a lot of resources when it came to the game. I remember going to my first camp. I think I might have been 13 years old. And you got to think kids were already probably going to camps 9, 10 years old,
right.
Stuff like that. We were just behind. So I would say, man, like being doubted,
Gotcha.
That was one of the biggest things for me early. I picked up the game picked up the ball growing up in Wiggins Village. In the Ville. Everybody, when I came outside, was a little bit older than me, so I had to play 21 on a crate at Elliott's house, and everybody was older than me, but those guys that believed in me, because I remember the work I put in with them in the games. Gotcha. And the toughness it took to even play in a hustle game with them. So when I started to get into organized basketball, obviously some of the kids were more ahead of me, and I think it was just the doubt of, kids saying I wasn't good and stuff like that. That was probably one of the hardest things for me. And identity, man, having an identity, the community. Like a lot of us grow up kind of, especially in the adolescence age, trying to be something we're not.
Right.
Right. And that was a big part of my journey too. Kind of being good at home, but when I left school or in Kennedy Plaza, kind of getting caught up in some stuff.
Gotcha.
So that could have kind of went either way. And it did at times. I got jumped in the mall, when I was in high school. And that was my sophomore, junior year in high school. And I woke up in the hospital unconscious. And that was like a routinely thing. Everyone
Gotcha.
lets their kids go to the mall on Fridays and Saturdays and watch a movie. And that was my thing that I always did with my boys. But we ended up just getting into a little trouble, a fight. I don't really even remember it, but I just remember,
Yeah.
But basketball was my first thing. So that day was like one of the days, and shout out to my college coach, Jamie Benton. I wasn't even in college yet, but he came over to my house, talked to me for like an hour.
Wow.
You know what I mean? About just like staying focused and, the people around me and my surroundings and stuff like that. So after that happened, that was like a big change in my wake-up call on my journey.
There you go. Wow, that's big. And how did you and Jamie Benton get connected?
Originally, him just being from the South Side, me going to the South Side Boys and Girls Club, him coming by. There was a player, Rohan Russell, at the time, who was the leading scorer at JWU. Jamie had him in the community too.
Gotcha.
And then he did his first basketball camp at the Met High School. Right outside and indoors, and a lot of kids from the boys club were able to get scholarships for the camp.
Fire.
You know, he was a college coach, so that was my first piece of like going to an organized camp. I had a computer when I was young, so I got to see like a lot of the LeBron James Skills Academy stuff, the Steve Nash camps,
Fire.
a lot of that stuff that was going on when I was like 15. I was blessed. My mom worked, and I mean, we had a computer, and I had internet.
Yeah.
So I was watching YouTube in probably 05 when it first came out.
Tough.
And I would take a lot of that stuff that I would see at the camps, and then I would take and add to my game.
There we go.
Or do drills and stuff on my own. Like I was kind of training myself.
I was going to say self-taught then, right?
Yeah. And Corey Brown too was one of the guys, kind of like the Boys and Girls Club. The culture there was real.
Okay.
Corey Brown, Juan Carter, Bucky, those guys right there, like hosted leagues. They, did drills. We played St. Mike. So I was always around like some guys kind of giving me game.
The game.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And then you said that didn't start until around like 13, 14 though, right?
Corey Brown, when I lived in the Ville, he was in the Ville already, but I didn't really start playing organized basketball. My first team was ES Construction. That was in like Pawtucket with Glenn from Pawtucket. I might have been 12 years old, but then I went over to the Boys and Girls Club, tried out for St. Mike's. I didn't make it my first year.
Get out of here.
Then my second year, I might have been 13. So I played like 13, 14, 15, yeah.
Gotcha. So that actually brings me to my next question, essentially. Was there ever a moment growing up when you considered walking away from basketball or doubted yourself?
Nah, man, basketball was always my thing.
Gotcha.
It was just always my thing since I could remember. Like walking with a ball. I had a hoop in my house, like inside my house, not outside my house, but the Boys and Girls Club, I went every day.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about not playing basketball, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was up until when I graduated, not graduated, but when the high school season ended at Central.
Mm-hmm.
I was thankful to go to the Met High School because they made us apply to college.
Gotcha.
That didn't have anything to do with basketball though, sports.
Yeah.
That was just the requirements at the Met.
Mm-hmm.
So me going there made me apply to some schools, and I had got into a couple of colleges, but it was never on some, I'm gonna play college basketball.
Gotcha.
So I kind of see, like I said, with the resources of Rhode Island, sometimes the kids just don't have them. We had a lot of talent, but there was no one there to say, you know what, I'm gonna take all these guys and help them do their FAFSA form, make sure they apply to school from Mount Pleasant, from Hope, from, all these different schools. And I was actually one of those guys.
There you go.
And Jamie Benton, once again, reached out. Lamont, he saw me play. I made it to the Rhode Island Interscholastic High School All-Star game.
There you go.
And he came to see me play. Well, he just came to the game, and he liked the way I played in transition and my passes and the way I was playing. So he came up to me, and that's kind of how I ended up taking that next step to play college basketball. But if it wasn't for that right there, there was a point in time where I didn't know what I was doing either with the game.
Right. So that's a pivotal moment too. Like you were just kind of applying to colleges, not really expecting to play the game,
it's crazy because I got kicked out of my mom's house. My mom's super strict. She was my mom's Liberian, I'm African,
Gotcha.
And if everyone knows how African households are, big on education, rules, structure, and living in the urban community on the South Side, it was like I had to balance that. Yeah. So there were times where I would get in trouble for not making it home on time because I had curfew, or if I had a C or a C minus, she would take me off the team, you know what I'm saying? Or I was always on punishment for stuff, just not listening, and she was just stern on me.
Gotcha.
So that right there was a big time. When my mom being hard on me, and one time I came home and I just wasn't doing the right thing, and I had gotten in trouble. This was the first time I smoked, for real.
Gotcha.
Just following people. I came home, I was smoking, and my mom caught me. You know what I'm saying? And I got kicked out of my house. So I was staying with my cousin in Manton, Noop. Shout out to Noop and Monjean, but I was staying with them in Manton, still going to the Met though, playing basketball, and Jamie actually came to Manton Projects. We was outside hooping, he came through in his Lex.
There you go.
This is probably 07, and he had an LS400, LS300 Lexus at that time, just to pull up in Manton and kind of talk to me. That was a big thing, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, that's major. That's major. So, and then you decided to go to Johnson & Wales and became the #1 scorer in the country at one point.
Yeah.
Tell me that, like, how was that experience? What was your mindset just on the basketball court now?
Yeah.
Your mindset to, like, literally kill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, after getting to college, and I mean, I walked in to Johnson & Wales a little cocky, even though it was college. I just felt like, yo, I should be playing Division I.
Gotcha.
Because I knew a lot of players that were playing Division I who I was at least around, played against at some sort. So I walked in a little cocky, but it was a hard transition. It was tough. And staying in the gym was the biggest thing for me. That's kind of how it happened. This was the first time where I had full access to a gym.
Gotcha.
I wasn't getting kicked out. I remember sneaking in Brown, having to go through the back door, getting kicked out of Brown, sneaking in J. Woo, getting kicked out of J. Woo to play, Boys and Girls Club closing down. There wasn't really nowhere to hoop, you know, at a point in time like that. So when I got to J. Woo, it was like, yo, the gym closes at, 9, 10 p.m., opens at 7 a.m., 6 a.m.
You had all day.
So it was like, I was in the gym 3 times a day. There was nothing else to do. That was just my getaway from, I was still living in Prov on the south side.
Gotcha.
I wasn't on campus, so it was just like, it's kind of get in trouble on the south side or stay on campus in the gym, you know, cafeteria, library. So I kind of like was in Providence, but my mindset left Providence and what I was used to. So with that, as a freshman, the ball was in my hands a lot. We were terrible. I think we won 4 games. We didn't win our first game for like the first 2 months, 2.5 months. We went like 2 months of straight L's.
That's tough.
Yeah, but the ball happened to be in my hands a lot.
There we go.
So as I transitioned from a freshman to a sophomore, the ball happened to get, and I got comfortable more. And I had to make some transitions. Like I would go to the hole a lot, try to take layups, but in college, they're taking charges.
Right.
In Rhode Island, scholastically.
They was not taking.
Yeah, probably Hendrick and LaSalle.
Yeah.
North Kingston are taking charges, but I'm not used to game in and game out, scouting reports, things like that. Learning how to really control the tempo and the pace of a game and take good shots. And then Jamie with his shooting every day, shooting with him, that helped me a lot.
Right.
Because he would teach me the footwork on certain shots, you know, like the mechanics to make repetition, make them over and over. And the stuff he taught me, I would stay in the gym and do again and do again. So I would be in the gym so much, I would kind of be playing 5-on-5 by myself about the game that I'm having later.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like, no shot I'm taking is gonna be new to me because I already practiced it.
Dope.
If I play at 7 p.m. tonight, I'm in here at 7 in the morning before class, then I come back at 3 o'clock. This is game day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Guys are coming in, taping their ankles, late, whatever. They're taking their own routine. This is my routine. You know, like I'm just comfortable putting in a lot of work. It was normal to me, you know, and it just became normal. So at that time, no shot felt bad. You know what I'm saying? Like everything felt good. I'm really like, when you really get to think about it, I mean, social media and the era wasn't around, but like Steph Curry, Trae Young, Damian Lillard, Lamont Thomas, like even though I played Division III basketball, Jimmer Fredette, we kind of changed the game from regular point guard to scoring point guard. Guys below 6'2", 6'1", usually pass the ball. They didn't come down 2 dribbles, 1 dribble from half court and shoot the ball. You know, so it's a blessing to kind of know, you know what I'm saying? I'm a part of a transition in the game. So it feels good to know that.
That's dope. And how did you kind of keep that mindset? Like you had so much, you was the man on campus at one point, you get what I'm saying? So trying to stay focused in school and then even on the basketball court, how did you keep that mindset like hungry and I want to make it to the next level?
I think it was still just because I was still like, you know, I was still in Providence, like living in Washington Park, you know what I'm saying? Going through like, trying to still figure out meals, how my lights are gonna get paid, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like motivation for me to be like, you know, I gotta make it out. For real. Every day I go running, I run down Broad Street. I want people to see this work. You know what I'm saying? So when you see me make it or wherever I go, it's like I got to see it firsthand. It wasn't luck. I got to pass the process down on what it takes. So that was a drive for me to be able to make it out of Prov. I also have a little brother, you know what I'm saying? Donovan, who's 7 years younger than me. So at that time, like my brother was a big motivation for me too, and my little cousin. But really my brother at that time, because he was in high school.
Right.
He was a little cocky because he was playing, the highest level of basketball. He was playing for Expressions. He was getting free sneakers.
Yep.
So there was a lot of stuff like he would think, oh, Division III basketball is nothing.
Right.
Or, he didn't know what it took. So I continued to have to work hard to, even though I knew he was going to go Division I, I know he's going to have to work harder to be better than me.
100%.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I never wanted to pass that torch down like my little brother's better than me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He don't work harder than me.
Right.
So it was the work ethic for me. Like, I knew that got me there, and I was just gonna stay with that.
And it's crazy that you even said this. You wasn't even in the gym. So I played for John Hope, and obviously Donovan played for John Hope.
Yeah.
He's older than me though.
Yeah.
And I remember and it's crazy that I even remember this, but one time where it's at the end of he'd probably just played or something. He's probably like 12 or 13. He ran and grabbed the rim, and he's like, Lamonte can't do this. Like, he's screaming. Like, so you was literally his motivation, but he's screaming at your mom, Lamonte can't do this, Lamonte can't do this. So that was his motivation to be in the position that he's in now. I don't know if 100% like that was all of it, but I remember literally that vivid moment, like literally, yo, L can't do this.
Yeah, we were so competitive.
Yeah.
Like, he was.
And he wasn't even in the gym. That's the crazy part.
Exactly. I was so tough on him too. You know what I'm saying? There was a point in time when his dad left, so it was just like it was me and him. My mom was working 2 jobs, so every Saturday morning he had to come with me to the boys' club. We had to walk. There used to be a K9 around the corner from our house, and he used to be scared, so we would have to walk all the way around the block. You know what I'm saying, to get to the boys' club. But I had to make sure my brother was gonna be tough, because my mom was. The way I had to grow up wasn't the same way he did it a little bit, he got to go to prep school early because my mom learned from, me a little bit.
100%.
I wanted to go to prep school, but she didn't understand the process.
Right.
So when my brother was talented, hanging on the rim at 13, she kind of got more invested in the game of basketball. And I was in college now, so I was like, yo, Mom, these are the steps for him, This is the way it goes.
Right.
There's a proper steps for all the people listening. There are proper steps on the game.
Right.
It's not necessarily the prep school thing, but what people don't understand about like me, my little brother, Sebastian, we work hard. You feel what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
Like when my brother went out, because he was playing for the Rhode Island Breakers, for everybody thinks like you need to be playing for these top teams. You don't. He played for a local Providence team and went and played against a really good team. And that's how he gained his exposure right there. By beating a Nike team and, you know what I'm saying? Getting MVP, and they won the championship. And when you do stuff like that, that's how you build relationships with teams. They ask about you. And that's how he built exposure. But a lot of players want to play for these big time teams and aren't putting in the work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
and it's a big eye opener too.
Yeah. Like I would tell everybody like about Sebastian. I remember like, he played for Expressions when he was little. Sebastian's my little cousin for everyone who doesn't know, but like when he was little, a lot of people didn't believe. You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
What's happening right now. But I always knew he was gonna be, you know what I'm saying, a star because we were always working.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you work the right way, usually you're gonna get the right results. So.
And going to Sebastian, I remember seeing videos that you posted of you guys like in the crib, him doing ladders and stuff like that. He's super young, you know what I'm saying? So you installed that kind of work ethic in him as well too.
Yeah, man.
That's dope. My apologies. This thing is dying. All right. So you played overseas for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
About that. You played overseas for 10 years. What were some of the most valuable lessons you learned both on and off the court?
Being overseas, there's a lot to learn. One of the first things I would say is, the first time I went overseas, once again, I went to college home. So that was my first time really leaving Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So I got homesick. I was over in Germany for 2 weeks and we had a Christmas break. And I came back home for Christmas. And I was just like, yo, I'm not going back over there.
Yeah.
And so being strong on your own is one. I got to really tune in with myself though.
Gotcha.
You feel me, on a day-to-day basis. Like I spent a lot of alone time walking, being a tourist. Not really a tourist because I'm living in these places. So
Gotcha.
I had to be adaptable.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be adaptable to be successful, not just in sports and life. You got to be in rooms where you're uncomfortable. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, like having to go to sponsored dinners and be somewhere for 5 hours. It don't matter if you're the best player on the team or not. You have to be there on time, polo on, you know what I'm saying? What they require you to wear. And you might have to sit with people who don't speak English for 5 hours and make the best of that time.
Right, yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I had to do to make the best of it. So be adaptable for sure. You got to learn how to swallow your pride too.
Right.
Because you're also in different countries now. You're not in America. So you got to realize, like, this is the way they play. This is the way they teach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is how they are. So that was one of the good things. So I was kind of able to do that country to country. That's kind of how I had success. When you go to those places, they already have this perception that you're like the cocky American, that you only want to score, and you know what I mean? So kind of going there with your chin up, shaking hands, introducing yourself, making first good impressions on everybody, because these are your teammates that you're there for 9 months with, coach. This is like family, you know, and this is all you have kind of over there. It might be 1, 2 Americans on the team. So you build strong bonds with the American players, but to go to war and try to win championships, you know, you got to adapt in these countries to the lifestyle and the country that you're in.
It's pretty cool to hear like little things like that about overseas, even just the experience and stuff like that. I was talking to Kimani, and Kimani told me that it was a big eye opener to him too, because he went overseas, and when he went overseas, he went there with a certain mentality, and even like he was talking to a coach, he said he almost got in trouble because he said one wrong thing, and he's like, the coach told him like, all right, this is your warning, but we don't do that over here. Like, you gotta lock in. This isn't the USA. Like, this is a whole different ball game.
That's kind of why I'm hard on the kids now. When I come back home, because I come back and I give back like the game. So I'm tough on the parents, or I'm tough on the kids, and some of them don't understand. But the sooner they get it, the further they'll go. Right. You know, because there isn't no talking back. Sometimes you can't ask a question. You know, that's just how the game goes. You gotta take it, listen, learn, take the message, you know. So I've been trying to really instill that into the next generations, because there were times I got in trouble, or my name was a little tarnished overseas because the next GM or president told the next GM or coach or president, yo man, that guy's a little crazy, or, you know, there's just things. I didn't play Division I either, you know? So a lot of stuff was brand new to me, you know? So, but if I could pass that message down to, you know, any other player, is definitely just to like be able to listen, you know? I was kind of like, I stand up for stuff, you know? So there are some stuff like players do deal with that I might stand up for another player for. Clubs sometimes don't like that either, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's about your personal mission and journey, and just focusing on you while you're over there too sometimes.
That makes sense. Like, don't lose yourself in the process type situation. That makes a lot of sense. What inspired you to get into the clothing brand? I see, you know, we got the Play for Peace and just the movement inside it, in general. What inspired you to start the Play for Peace movement?
Really, like, if you know, you know, man, like, as a kid, I mean, it started young. You know, so like at 12, 13 years old, I was Youth of the Year for the Boys and Girls Club for Southside and the city of Providence. You know, like, I've always had like a kind of mentality of giving back. It's just something that's been in me. So when I got the chance to play overseas, I guess, and make it to that level, a lot of parents would like be reaching out to me, players reaching out to me as I was over there, like just asking for advice. Asking how they could do it. You know what I mean? Like, so many times, and I grew up loving the New York basketball environment, like as a kid, watching N1 mixtapes. That's kind of where my game came from. Like, Ayo, Steve Francis, but I also watch, you know what I'm saying? Steve Nash and the LeBron James. So it was like swag with skill. But I love that aspect of the game. Like as a kid, I'm like, yo, these packed parks, people dressed, Harlem shaking in the middle of the court. You know what I'm saying? Like chicken noodle soup, like that whole just era was something like that I love. So I knew I wanted to bring that kind of energy to Providence. You know what I'm saying? So I guess when I went overseas, it was like my network was big enough, my name was big enough in the city. Well, I was like, yo, and I went to school and the biggest thing, I went to school for sports entertainment and event management.
Oh, fire.
So the process on running an event, I actually just did for 4 years, you know, day in and day out, and learned the process, like how to run successful events. So I took those aspects, I was overseas, and I started just playing. Call everyone I knew who were playing like the pro level game or playing overseas, NBA, seeing who I can come and bring to Prov. You know, and at that time, obviously, like David Duke Jr. who's on the Spurs, but at that time, David was in the 7th or 8th grade, and I just knew I wanted to inspire the city. Me and Cal went to school together, Camp Arrow, shout out to Cal, and we talked about like what we would do when we graduated. So that's kind of how Play for Peace came about. And I guess as I played more, and shout out to my mentor, Mark from the city team, he would just tell me to, yo, think bigger, think bigger. And the city team, if you know them, if you follow their page, you see them everywhere. You know, 100%. Like you can't figure them out. They're in Houston, they're in Cali, they're in Jamaica. They're just doing so much give back stuff. And I'm like, yo, I want to, Mark, once again, think big, think big. So I started to say, you know what, I'm gonna use my network a little more. My boy Stan's doing this in Chicago. My boy Wild Thing, he's from VA, shout out to Deshaun. He came down, played in the game in Providence. And he's like, yo, I want to do this in VA, bro. I want to bring this to my town. So I'm like, all right, let's plan. So all year now I'm overseas for 9 months hooping, practice twice a day, but I got 8 free hours, 10 free hours a day. So I'm just making calls, texting people, just planning for when I get home to kind of compile my summer. Because if you know, like as a basketball player coming overseas or even in college, like you got to stay busy. You know, it's easy to get distracted or stay out of shape or get caught up in the wrong things. So I wanted to make sure like I was doing something with myself. I was kind of building a name for myself because I knew the game was gonna stop one day. And I wanted to make money too. You know what I mean? So those were the 3 things that, like I was worried about for the summer times, and years on years on years, just doing it consistently. I can say like it's inspired the game in Prov or
100%.
You know, a lot of players or even people are doing more. You see more players training. Like even when I was training in my first camp, there weren't a lot of camps, there weren't a lot of trainers. So I gotten to see like kids who've come through my camp now be trainers now. Guys be pros now, stuff like that. So that's why I love it. And that's what originally I started the whole movement for. So the clothes are just marketing really for the brand in itself. So when people see it, they ask about it. I try to put like positive messages on the clothes and stuff. You know what I mean? So when people, oh, what's that about? Oh, what's that all hustle, no luck? Oh, that spread love hoodie. You know, it's not like, I don't like to consider it a clothing line. I just tell people it's marketing for a bigger purpose, you know?
And what I can say is you like kind of talking about the city team when you say, oh, like I didn't know, like you can't really market. You don't know where it's coming from. That first question that I asked you before the interview even started, I was like, wait, bro, is the Play for Peace like your thing? Because of that reason though. You see it in VA, you see it overseas. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing literally what the city team is doing. So I definitely want to like just give you your flowers for that. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely working the way you want it to work. That's dope.
Sure. And sometimes I'd be hard on myself, but I'd be having to realize like, yo, the last 10, 11 years you were playing basketball and doing all of this stuff.
So imagine.
You know what I mean? So it's just like things will come or the results you want, you know, take time. Yeah, you've been putting in time, but you haven't been putting in 40 hours a week towards this or 120 hours towards this event for you to get those results you want. So I'm definitely grateful for the brand and how it's expanded because now we're in New York, like grounded in New York, the mecca of basketball, like what I loved growing up doing. Now we're at the same parks as like the Nike, and you know what I mean? So we're doing the parks and the programs outside in New York and LA now. I'm in Watts doing it out there. This is our 3rd year doing it in Cali. So we're east to west now, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. As you should too, as you should. Dang. So going on from, you hosted events all over the world. What was one city that, or a story that kind of really sticks out to you like going to these different places and things of that nature? Is there a specific city that anything happened, or is it mainly the New York one too?
Ah, man.
Been all over.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some special moments. I mean, they're all pretty special. The California trip, though, is probably like hits the most for me.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten to take some guys who've believed in the vision.
Yep.
And, you know, they've gotten to come to California for free, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, see that part of it. So I'm like, yo, teamwork. We don't work enough together in Rhode Island. You know, everyone can do something. I'm not saying that, but there are times where guys need to work together more for a bigger purpose and a bigger platform. No matter whose name started it, because everyone, when they're in the room, for example, the last 2 years we've been going to Cali, we walk in the Drew League. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with Dino Smiley now, the founder of the Drew League.
Yeah.
And Coach K, Keith, and AJ, and Russell.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And Duke. They get the same respect that I do. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From Dino Smiley, being representatives of the Play for Peace tour. And when you get in these rooms, you get to build your own relationships. That's what people have to start to realize. It's not about like, oh, yo, I don't want to do that because Lamonte started it, so I'm going to go do it over here. It's like, nah, you can use me in a sense too.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? You got to use people. Not like blatantly in front of them, but you can use my network of people not to go off and run and say, you know what, I'm going to take his people and do it myself.
No.
Nah, take it for a bigger purpose. If I offer opportunity, take the opportunity, or whoever. You know what I'm saying? If someone offers me an opportunity, I'm going to jump on the opportunity. Go there like 2 days ago at the Met High School.
There you go.
I got to sit next to the vice president of Santander Bank and the president of RI Hub.
Yeah.
It wasn't my event.
Yeah.
It was Jody Woodruff's event. But since she invited me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
I get to connect and build my own relationships with these people.
Right.
You feel me? And we don't do that enough here.
on.
You know, we got to do more of that.
And you just built that pipeline for everyone who's in Play for Peace, whatever the kid, you know what I'm saying? You just build that pipeline to be connected to them also.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, you get down with Play for Peace, we're in New York, you better leave here with some numbers, some coaches' infos, like some players, whatever your mission is or whatever you're trying to do, while you're in these rooms or on these courts, please do it. Like, if you come to New York, build some genuine relationships with some of these coaches so you can come out here on your own time now, bring your own Rhode Island players that you've been training, and bring them out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
That's what it's about.
100%.
A lot of us want to start from the beginning, and people have put in enough work. I've put in enough work, built my name big enough for other people to kind of eat off my name too, or get into certain rooms or do whatever. And same thing with whoever else, Ricky Lito, Rakim Sanders, like all these guys, Jeff Xavier, who've played, who've done some stuff. Like, people got to get around them and kind of support them. A guy like Ricky Lito, who played in the NBA, someone should be calling Rick every day trying to be his manager, be his PR, see how they can build off his name, because he got NBA connections, NBA friends, but guys want to start from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And
when
that's
you
gonna
already
take
have
you
that stepping stool.
Exactly.
Why not?
Yeah, man.
No, that definitely makes sense. Even from me building like a platform like this, it kind of goes back to the Play for Peace, like what you created and things of that nature. Just given the opportunity for people to be able to come on here and tell their story, but also I use it as an opportunity to inspire the youth, inspire someone to look at this interview and say, oh wait, hold on, if Lamonte could do it, I could do it. If Keith could do it, I could do it. Like, so it's a very similar story.
Definitely. People, I mean, for sure, you got to be inspired by people. You know, you get inspired by things, and make sure what I want to say with that is though, like, make sure you kind of ask questions and don't just start like, you know what I'm saying? Before you go and start a podcast, make sure you reach out to Keith. Come interview him, ask him some questions, get his advice before you just do it yourself and kind of have to go through some of the stuff that he already had to do, trials and tribulations. You could be ahead by learning from him.
And even like tune into these, because people will be able to see, all right, Keith is a little off on this and that's why I started it the way I started it, because I want people to see the growth and see like, okay, like this is where he messed up on, I'm not gonna do that, or this is, you know what I'm saying? So just use the platform like you said.
Yep.
I know we only have like a few, 5:30 right now, so all right, I got you. Last few questions.
Yep.
You're good. What advice would you give what advice would you give a young athlete who feels overlooked coming out of Providence?
What I tell athletes, and what I try to, because I have my own AAU program, and I'm dealing with juniors and some seniors right now who have that same aspirations that I remember when I was in high school. Guys saying, I'm going prep school, you know what I mean? And don't have those, haven't taken the steps to go to prep school, don't have A's and B's, you know what I mean? That's the first thing for getting a scholarship, or not in the gym every day, you know? So what I would say is to stick with it, you know? And you gotta listen to the people who are in your corner. A lot of kids start to get, especially when they're working hard, and they start to lose their humbleness or forget kind of who's been helping them or giving them the rides or putting in the work with them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And you stay around people who are genuine for you, doing it for nothing, for, you know what I'm saying? For you, and stick with it. That's what I would say. Like, shout outs today, my a player from Central High School, his name was Lester. I actually just posted this earlier because it's personal for me, that kid's from Central, because I see a lot of parents in the city say, I want to get my kid to a prep school, or no offense to LaSalle or Hendricken, but they don't have enough jerseys for all these kids and parents that everyone's trying to go.
Right.
So I see kids end up playing freshman as a freshman, you know, then playing JV as a sophomore. Then you might play JV as a junior these days. Some kids are getting like a year and a half of varsity basketball, which is slimming down their chances of them actually making it to college.
Right.
So I would say that's why I kind of went back to Central and spent time with them, to show people that you can go to college from Central. Yeah. You can go to Division I from Central.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to go to these big time schools. They come and find you if you're ready. So Lester's put in the work and stayed with it, and now he's going to college.
There you go.
You know, and that's what it's about, just staying with it.
Yeah.
A lot of kids end up Xing themselves out. You know what I mean? Attitude, I want 20 points a game, so F this team. Don't handle the grades. You know, I mean, I'm not just blaming the kid either, 'cause sometimes it's the household.
Right.
They don't have the right support. They don't have the guidance. They don't have someone in the household pushing them or forcing them. I'm seeing a lot of talent out here not make it because these parents are being too lenient. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
These kids are kids, 14, 15, they still need to be forced to wake up, forced to go to the gym before school, forced to do their homework, forced to work out until the flower blossoms. You feel what I'm saying?
They're still buds, essentially.
Exactly. Kids are still kids. Even at 20, 19 years old, when they go to college, they're still kids. You know, you still got to be on them all the way through the process. Right. You know what I'm saying? Until you feel like they're mature enough and they got it enough. A lot of kids aren't making it because at home, the parents are like, oh yeah, they don't have to do it. Oh yeah, he don't listen. You know what I'm saying? Instead of
giving their excuses.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Instead of forcing them, being on them. You know, so we just need more of that, more of the households forcing and pushing them and setting that. If the kid wants to play basketball, parents are buying the sneakers and stuff already, that means you're already invested. Right. Yeah. You're spending $160, $200 on sneakers a couple times a year. You're already partially invested. Right. Now you gotta do the other stuff, the forceful stuff, for the kid to make it. So.
The non-fun stuff, even though spending the money and things like that's not fun, but like you said, forcing them. And sometimes they may feel like, oh, like I hate you, or whatever the case may be, but they'll look back at it like kind of how you look back at your mom that gave you that structure. Yeah. You're like, damn, like at the moment you're like, man, whatever. Exactly. But and then now you're older, you look back at it like, damn, if it wasn't for my mom giving me that structure, then you know what I'm saying?
I would never made it.
Right. And really quick, back to Lester, really good, like, gentleman, you know, plays with like his heart on his sleeves type of situation. But I can say that you was like, Lester's freshman year was your first year of you going like fully back to Central, was it? Like,
Yeah, I think it was his freshman or sophomore year. Jaden was there. Steven.
I was there as coach. That was his freshman year.
Yeah,
bro. It was
yeah.
a freshman year. So you watched him all 4 years essentially, right?
Yeah,
Going to the position season now. So yeah, definitely shout out to Lester. Last question. Well, I have a final 3.
Yep.
But do you think? Have you ever took the time to look back at all your accomplishments, from the #1 scorer in the country, playing in a foreign country for 10 years, creating a movement that is known worldwide, helping change lives using basketball and experience, and so much more outside of basketball? Have you ever took the time to kind of like, oh wow, this is like, I've done all this, you know what I'm saying? Like took the time to kind of look back at all these accomplishments?
Yeah, I'm sometimes yes, but sometimes no.
Gotcha.
A little bit. Like there be times where like I got my NCAA like leading scorer. They're like these cement trophy plaques, you know, super heavy. So like when I see those, you know, sometimes it still don't hit me like, damn, you know, like I really scored this many points.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I do, because I'll post it like TV, like Throwback Thursday.
Yep.
Or like, cause you gotta pat yourself on the back. You know what I mean? If I just like, I've seen some players get depressed after the game ends for them. Not that the game has ended for me, but because they not playing anymore.
Right.
You know, when you're playing, everybody loves you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you're overseas, like I'm not overseas right now, but when I'm overseas and I'm posting, my likes are up, everybody's writing me my story all day because of the stuff they're seeing is like, boom. But when I'm home and I'm posting about like my vision or something else, you know, it's not the same love.
Right.
Not that it matters for me, but it's I get to analyze and see it.
Yeah.
You know, so damn, I forgot what the original question was.
You're good. Have you ever got a chance to look back at it and you know, take it all in?
Yeah, so just like looking back at it, I just continue to like cherish it, because I know how much the game has done for me.
Right. Yeah.
I know I'm never gonna get a reward. There's no reward, at least for like this right here.
Right.
The giving back, the changing lives, the inspiring the people. There's no reward for that. You know, there'd be times where I'd be tired.
Right.
You know, because I'm like, damn. You know, people are never. They keep coming. They're gonna keep coming, calling. They don't understand how tired you are. They want to keep training.
Right.
So me now, I'm kind of been focusing on the bigger aspect. Like, how do I take all of these people who, you know, the next generations of people. And that's kind of why I wrote a kid's book.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, how do I get to the next generations of people? I can't fill every room. I can't go to every room.
Right.
There's times I'm tired.
Yeah.
If I write this book and I do the proper marketing and get it out there, I can inspire millions of lives faster.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's kind of where my mind's been.
Fire.
Taking like the inspiration from the city team Mark.
Yep.
You know, me doing all that I've done. And now kind of getting what I want. Because when we start basketball at the end of the day, and when we're young, everyone says, yo, I want a big house, I want a mansion, I want a foreign Mercedes-Benz, and you know what I mean? That didn't come with the game for me, playing. I didn't make it to the $50,000, $100,000 a month contracts out there. There's more than that out there.
Right.
I never made it to that kind of money playing ball. But what basketball did do for me, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It did a lot for me. It opened a lot of doors, so many doors. I put so many people in position. But now I'm kind of focusing on the business side of the game.
Right, yeah.
The ownership part, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
making
100%.
that, because you can make that kind of money not playing, doing something else with the game. So that's kind of what I've really been focusing on, trying to do something big, like life-changing with the game, some innovative stuff. So.
And that's definitely gonna come for you, 110%. Last 3 questions, how I usually end up everything. So first question is, what is a piece of advice you'll give to the young Lamonte?
To the young Lamonte, I would have to say, yo, young fella, I know you really don't want to listen right now, but you're gonna understand 10 years or 20 years from now. So I know it was hard to hear what I had to say, and you responded first. But if you can take a chance take a second and really listen to what I said and try to add it to your life now. I went through a lot already, so you don't have to go through what I went through.
Fire.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I would tell a young me.
That's fire. No, that's dope. The second question is, how would you define success?
Success to me, I think it's what you set out yourself to do in life, honestly. Like, if you set a dream out or a goal and you accomplish it, I feel like that's success.
Fire.
You know, some people say it's on how many lives you change or inspire, you know, but to me, I feel like if I wake up today and I say, yo, I'm gonna get this, and this done.
You get it done.
And I get it done.
Come on.
That's success. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No matter how big it is or how big a goal it is or small a goal it is, that's a success. Now, if you set these big goals, the steps to get there are they're the same, you know? It just takes more of it. You got to put in more work, more this, whatever it is. But once you can kind of figure out that method right there, those steps never change on success.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. 100%. I like that.
I think.
Last question is, you being in that seat, you know how it feels. And everyone who sits in this chair is doing something for the community, you know what I'm saying? So, but with that being said, who is the next person you want to see on Keys to Success?
The next person I would like to see on here, I got two people.
Go ahead.
I ain't even gonna hold you.
Yes, sir.
One person is Rakim Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and another person I would like to say, I actually said her name earlier.
Yeah.
She has a lot of gems. Her name is Jody Woodworth.
Okay.
You know, she works at the Met High School. She's won Teacher of the Year for the United States a few times in a row.
Fire.
She has the Met High School actually has the first freestanding entrepreneurship building in America.
Dope.
And she's the director, founder of the building, found the funding for it. So over right on Public Street on the south side,
yes, sir.
They're teaching, you know, kids how to create companies from the beginning to end. Not just like what kids see every day, like t-shirt lines and, you know, not that say you can't be successful doing that, but some of those kids are being super innovative. You know, like creating some crazy products, companies, working with Brown University, MIT, Babson College, like it's real over there. So I would like to get her on here.
All right, there we go. So those two, so Jody and Rakim, those are the two. Yes, sir. Well, Lamont, it was a pleasure, bro. Honestly, like I feel like just hearing your story, just sitting right here, I feel like you're living in your purpose. Like even what you said at a young age, like you always felt like, you know, that leader kind of inside of you. So, and that's what you're doing right now. You're leading your team with Play for Peace, your AAU team, and everything that you do in the community. I know when I was growing up, you're someone I looked up to. When you talk about the Play for Peace AAU game, I was like, probably like, David was a 13, 14, I might have been like 10 or 11, but I was also there. It was like the Army Fatigue ones, right? Was that the first one? The Army Fatigue ones with the green
the tournament.
That was the tournament one, classic. Exactly. And that was like years ago, you know what I'm saying? So I remember that, and I just remember being inspired. So it's definitely a huge thing for me to have you sitting in this chair. Like I said, you're living in your purpose, bro, and I'm glad to, you know, see it.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
No problem, brother. Yes, sir. Love. Over.